I always wish I had a microphone and people would listen like this. So maybe you should carry one around. That would be really great. My name is Francisco Rios, and I'm proud to serve as the Dean of the Woodring College of Education here at Western Washington University. And on behalf of the college, and really on behalf of the university community more broadly, we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come here and hang out with us this afternoon, and for many of you to hang out with us tomorrow on hopefully a beautiful sunny, keeping our fingers crossed, commencement day, since it's going to be outside, and just really, most importantly, an opportunity to really thank parents and family members and teachers who've done amazing work, but really to congratulate an amazing group of students who continue to inspire in so many ways in the work that they're engaged in every day. A little bit over than 5 years ago, I had come to Western to apply for the position as dean. And the very first group that they had me meet with was a group of students. And I thought, well, that's really strange. I would think that they'd have me meet the provost, who's my immediate boss, or maybe the faculty, or maybe the previous dean, but students. And I was like, well, that's really strange. But after I left that meeting, I was like, if they offer me the position, this is the kind of place I want to be. And it was because of our students, the caliber of students that come to Western, their passion, their commitments, their vision, their desire to really want to make a difference. And so it's really wonderful for us to be able to take this particular moment to pause and congratulate them and to urge them forward as they move on to whatever directions that they particularly find themselves. So let me begin by asking those of you who are graduating, would you please stand up so we can give you all a round of applause. You are our future alumni, and we're so proud of you and all that you've done. So we also never used to have this event, and I always thought, we've got to have an event where we get to hear students' voices, where we get to have a chance to hear them talk about their experiences and their hopes and their visions and their passions, what they've learned and what they'd like to share in that journey along the way. So we created this event, this pre-commencement reception, to really give them an opportunity to have an inspirational moment, a space for them to share whatever they want with the rest of the college and the broader community. But we've also thought it was important to reach back to some of our outstanding alumni who've gone on to do great things and do amazing things. And so we've asked Ann Jones from the Mount Vernon School District to kick this off from the start. Ann grew up in Mount Vernon. She knew she wanted to go to college, but she also knew that she wanted to go back to Mount Vernon to serve in the community in which she lived. She volunteered in high school and college in local migrant camps, where she learned Spanish, as well as learned a little bit about the indigenous cultures of people who were working in those camps. She studied Spanish in elementary education and spent her last quarter in Guadalajara, Mexico. She's a classroom teacher and English language learning specialist, and most recently has added family engagement specialist within the Mount Vernon School District to her profile. It was through her work, really, with the Collaborative Schools for Innovation and Success, a partnership between Western and Mount Vernon School District, where we're working to simultaneously get better, both K-12 schools and teacher education together, that I think she's really found her calling in education. She wants to thank the professors at WWU who provided her the opportunity to research, create, and implement new and innovative strategies for increasing family engagement within that community. She's here with her husband, Brian, and her daughter, Emily. The two boys, they said, may not know how to behave themselves, so they're not here. But with that, please join me in welcoming to the podium Ann Jones.
Yeah, so we have two younger boys, one's in first grade and one's entering kindergarten next year. And our first grader might be able to make it through, but my 5-year-old, you would have heard the entire time, so, or he'd be at my side. I'm just really grateful for this opportunity to speak with you and share a little bit about my journey. And so, just kind of I'm a little nervous if you can't tell. So when I was thinking about my journey through education, there's one word that kind of resonated with me over and over again, and that was the process of learning. When I think about times in society, when we think about learning, many times we focus on its purpose or its means to an end, or we're learning in order to be an expert on something. But my journey with learning, and when I reflect on the moments that really impacted me, were the times when I was a listener. I love storytelling, and I talk a lot about storytelling within the education setting, but also without in the community, because storytelling is a really rich way and a tool that everyone can access. You do not have to be literate in a certain language. We can use our language, we can use our pictures, we can use symbols, anything to tell our own stories. And so I'm going to share with you today a little bit about my story. These are my stories that I own that have helped me become the person that I am, that through, and I'd like you to listen to the individuals who have really influenced that learning for me. When I was a child, I spent a lot of time playing at local migrant camps. The reason for me being there is not my story to tell, but when I was later an adult, I kind of learned about why we were there so much. As a child, I was excited for these visits and looked forward to playing with other children. I can remember the kids leading me deep through the fields of wheat and overgrown grass to a patch of hard, molded dirt. And in that dirt, there was a patch where we played soccer. I did not learn at YMCA from a coach like many of my peers, but rather child experts on how to play soccer in the true dirt in this camp. In college, I took over the migrant camps that my mom and my auntie had served at, and spent my summer evenings tie-dyeing shirts and playing with kids. I took a summer course in photography and learned how to develop film. And I can still picture the images of those families that are ingrained in my memory of all their smiles and laughter and the determination. One evening, a family asked me to stay late and learn how to prepare tortillas for the lunches for the following workday. I stayed in that trailer late. It was cramped, it was dark, it was damp, and we prepared these tortillas together, 6 women huddled together, and I can still hear the slapping of the masa tortillas before we would put them on the grill. I learned so much that evening through making tortillas. And while I can't make them now to this day, and I purchased them at Costco, I learned about the community and the strength of women. I learned about perseverance, and I learned about determination. During my first year of teaching, I remember fall conferences, and I was sitting down with Senor Mendoza. And I did all the interpreting for my own conferences, but this individual, his first language was Mixteco, and his second language was Spanish. So we were both speaking in our second language of Spanish, and so I was a little nervous to make sure that all the points were across, but like a well-prepared first-year teacher, I had my stack of papers ready to share out on the table, and I was going to inform him everything he needed to know and about his child's learning. But little did I know that I was going to spend no time informing him, he was going to inform me. It was during this time that he shared with me that he had never had the opportunity to go to school. In their village in Oaxaca, it took a day's path, and I can picture the pathway that he pictured through the mountaintops, and that it would cost 10 days worth of food in order for them to go to school. So he sacrificed his education to be with his family, and then later moved them to the United States, and education was the #1 goal for his kids. So I had his littlest in my class, and he began talking to me about the kids were coming home, and they were so engulfed in this television they had had. They just got cable, and he had plugged it in, and they loved watching the television, but they weren't doing their homework. So to get his point across, he went out there, and he took his grass shears, and he cut the cable, and they never had TV again. So this evening at 7 o'clock, his youngest child will be walking across that stage and graduating. And I am excited to be there, as this is my first graduating class. There were first graders many years ago that are now graduating, and I'm excited to watch Hermenegildo walk across that pathway and head in hopefully to the same pathway that his siblings have gone on to, which was a 4-year college. Through this conversation with Senor Mendoza, I learned more in that session with him than I had ever in any experience in my life. I learned that we do not need to be the bearer of knowledge, and that the assets that our families possess are the strength that we should be learning from. There is no measure for the impact of that conversation and what it had on me, and it changed my practice as a teacher and as a human being. Over the past 4 years, I've been working as a family engagement EL specialist for the entire Mount Vernon School District. Through the collaboration with university professors at Western Washington University, I've had the opportunity to research and implement innovative structures and strategies for increasing family engagement. While the goal has always been focusing on increasing family engagement, my targeted audience has never been families, but rather the teachers and the community members. Our work is focused around self-reflection and understanding that we all interpret our experiences through our own cultural lens. Our work is focused on thinking about the assets rather than the deficits that our families possess. Rather than looking at others and thinking they lack experiences or they lack knowledge, we focus on looking at what the strengths our families possess and the funds and knowledge that we have yet to tap into. As we go forward into your careers, I hope that you think about the communities that you'll be working with. I challenge you to go out and build relationships with individuals in your community and with all individuals. I challenge you to listen with intent and self-reflect. I challenge you to open your heart and embrace perspectives, experiences, and values that may differ than your own, and reflect on the similarities rather than the differences. I just want to wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and I hope to hopefully at one point work again with you again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that amazing story. And I could almost smell those tortillas that you were describing as you were describing them. There are a lot of other stories, and I encourage you to take a look as you, especially after the student speakers, at these amazing boards here with faculty and students who are all first-generation students who tell these great stories about what it means to them, or what it meant to them as first-generation students to get a college education. So take some time to take a look, and in doing so, let's give a big round of applause to Lauren McClanahan, who's over there. She's a photographer, and she's amazing. And I'm glad that she has a job in secondary education, because I know many of you are going to say, would you take pictures for an event that we're having? Oh, okay. Well, now's the opportunity to really hear from our amazing students and our future alumni. And so with that, I'll call up Autumn Griffith from this special education program. So Autumn.
Oh, this would be easier if you were all third graders right now. Hello and welcome all. It's an honor to be speaking on behalf of so many wonderful future educators, special educators. I'd first like to thank Dr. Gail Cotter back there, who has been a wonderful mentor and outstanding professor throughout my Woodring experience. Gail, I appreciate that you've always had an open door and an open ear for me to come and speak to. I also want to thank Debbie Graham and Pam Hamilton for all the work they do to keep things running smoothly in the special education department. And to the many professors who I've had, I thank you for the inexhaustible list of teachings, resources, advice, and recommendations that you have bestowed upon all of us as future educators. And you're all deeply appreciated. So on June 15th, I'll be completing my special education internship. And this last month, my 8th graders, Taylor, you would know, have been feverishly working on writing, revising, editing, and performing poems about where they're from and where they're going. And so I've been thinking about what I would say if I had to do this assignment. And now I know why so many of them have turned in their final drafts late.
So I have one or two ideas that I could say and that I'd like to share with you. So something about where I'm from. When I was in 6th grade, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and this just, between weight loss and missing school and all these things, it just really impacted me. And I think about the things that my students now have to go through, and I compare, and I feel like I can really relate to them now because of that. So that kind of put me on this journey to 8th grade, and when I just thinking about my 8th graders, I hated school. I didn't want to be there. I just didn't want anything to do with it. So I started down this path of the path that teachers and parents work so hard to steer their students and children away from. But it's not really what was on that path that's so important, but where it led me and why I'm here now. And so fast forward a couple years, the last 2 years of high school, where I was part of this program called AVID, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And upon going into that program, I had the individual part down, I had the determination part down, but it wasn't necessarily in the academic success area that my teachers were wanting for me. So I had this teacher of AVID and this counselor that kind of worked together, and they pushed me. And they was always asking me, where did you go when you skipped class, and what are you gonna do when you grow up? And instead of scowling with disappointment and overwhelming me with questions and choices, they just smiled and listened. And I guess to remain brief, I think I'm graduating tomorrow with my degree in education because of those teachers who just smiled and listened. So where I'm going to be overwhelmed with the thoughts of what I should do differently, things I need to say carefully. Where I'm going, there will be days that I will get sick of the sound of my own voice repeating, stay focused, sit down, say what, say what, say what. So there's going to be days when we all as teachers and future teachers might think that it's not, we're just going to say it's not worth it. But it is so worth it. Just when you think about that you want to give up, there's going to be someone who smiles and listens. So those two things really can just make all the difference, as they did for me. And you kind of were speaking about this is just listening, and I think that is something really great to hold on to. So to those of us graduating tomorrow, I challenge you to remind yourself about where you are from, why you are here, and where you are going. Your story is important, and it will help you to positively shape so many lives like it has for me. Congratulations, graduates. Thank you to all of the Woodring faculty and staff for making this difference in our lives. And to friends and family who are here today, on behalf of all the graduates, thank you so much. Without your love and support, we could not have made it this far. I love you, Dad.
Representing the Bachelor's of Arts in Education from Secondary Education is Christopher Bowe.
Hey, thank you. I haven't started speaking yet. I got to be concise, so I'll stick to the cards. First of all, thank you, Mom and Dad, for coming up and for this a day early. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, Lauren, for the long hours you have spent editing all of my horrendous run-on papers. So I appreciate that.
We'll teach you about commas.
Maybe one day. But to be honest, the story about how I came to become into the Woodring College of Education starts much before that. Growing up, I'm not from a family of educators, and I had never even considered education, to be honest. And as I had come through and got into college, I was like, oh, wonderful. I'm just going to get my business degree, get done, right? And it wasn't until one December where I sat down at a poker game with a couple of my dad's friends. One of his friends pulled me aside and said, kind of grabbed me and said, oh, what's your plans? And I was like, oh, business, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you know what, Chris? Your talents would be wasted behind a desk. Have you ever considered something with education? And I said, well, no. And A, who are you to tell me what to do with my life? But it kind of was a nagging thought. And so I came back to the dorms, and as I was reflecting about what he had said to me, I was like, you know what? I love to work with people. I love kids, and I get to spend time with kids. So that day, went in, dropped my business calculus class, decided to become an education major. And to be honest, it was the best decision that I've ever made. As soon as I came into the Woodring program, the first two faces I got to meet were Lauren and Don. Don Burgess, he's not here tonight, but thank you, Don. Maybe you'll see this some other time, but these two unbelievable individuals, I came to them kind of hat in hand and said, listen, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no experience whatsoever doing this. Please help. And of course, the first class, we're teaching kids. And I am nervous as all get out first day. And you know what? I got through it though, and they pushed and pushed, and it was absolutely wonderful. And what they taught me is they taught me that there's two curriculums that we teach. There's an explicit and an implicit curriculum. Explicit referring to content that we go over and we teach that. And Lauren always tells me anyone can teach content. The implicit curriculum that we teach is the character. It's the social awareness. It's the genuine care for people and being relational. And this is something that I'll take into my classroom as well. This idea of the implicit curriculum. And you know, I didn't fully understand what it meant until I got to be in my practicum placement. And I got to interact with students on firsthand. And to be relational with someone is just such a big difference. And it makes a difference in their life. To quote Rita Pearson in her TED Talk of Every Kid Needs a Champion, she says, no teaching can occur without a significant relationship. And I finally, after 3 quarters, understand what that means. To relate to a child, to go through the struggles, and on top of that, teach them a little something. It's always a good thing too. But my hope for my future is not only to teach students the explicit curriculum, but to be a friend and a champion for all of my future students. And that's my wish for each and every individual graduate from this program. Thank you.
Representing the Masters in Teaching program, Taylor Thorson. Taylor? Oh, there you go. Taylor.
So, as Autumn can attest to, the 8th graders that we've been working with would come up here right now and they would look at all of you and they would say, I'm nervous. And everybody else would be like, really? And they would give snaps. Thankfully, I am not nervous. I am excited. I'm excited because everybody that has come up before me has talked about one of the key crucial elements that I feel Woodring has really instilled in me as a student and as a future educator. And it is the idea of community. That idea of community starts, first of all, with all of you parents. You instill in us the values that you hold dear, the values that we then take into our teaching, and we try to instill in the future generations of students that we hope to impact. And it starts with you. You raise us from when we can barely walk. We whine and complain, and the only thing we can do is cry. And you teach us, hey, this is how you read. This is how you walk. This is how you start to make decisions in your life. And we take that and move forward into school. Once we get to school, how do you form a relationship with someone? How do you get to know someone on a different level? Not the I love you level, but hey, you seem cool. Can I hang out with you? Can we go and play basketball? And then that moves on into high school, where you begin to, where am I going to go in life? I can drive now. awesome. Mom and dad can't keep track of me. To the, I'm a senior and I really want to go to school. Is it going to be a school where I learn a technical skill? Is it going to be a school where I get to not only pursue what I've learned in high school, but also just find myself? And you play a huge part in it. So snaps to all of you parents, because you're the ones that got us here in the first place. Which brings us to college. No rules, no time. It's all on you as an individual. And you learn who you are. You get to know, okay, this is the degree I want. Whether it's starting as a pre-med, I want to be a pediatrician, and finding out that, oh my gosh, chemistry is really hard. To, you know, what am I happiest? It's those times when I'm iPadding and FaceTiming with my mom's students who are second graders and teaching them how to read. What does that mean? That means, you know, where's my greatest impact going to be? It's going to be with kids. And it's not only going to be with kids, it's going to be for kids. And it starts there that you begin developing this idea of community. So to Woodring and all of the secondary staff, I say thank you. Because you bring us in under the idea that we are not here to learn about ideas and theories that we're not going to apply. You really teach us how to actively engage in the community with our kids, for our kids. And without that, we wouldn't be successful. That first day, you put us in a classroom with students, and they all look at you, and they have these big eyes, and they're expecting awesome things, and in your head, you're like, what did I just step into? But by the time you leave with a feeling of, I'm not alone. We are a community of educators, whether we are finishing our undergraduate degree, our master's degree, our professional degree, and you really instill in us this idea that we're not alone. We do this together. We do this in order to make sure that our students have the most possible means of being successful through collaboration. And that's the beauty of the program. That's the beauty of the word community. And that is truly what Western and Woodring has instilled in me. So thank you, everybody, for coming and allowing us to share our community that we've experienced over the last 2 to 3 years, depending upon how long we've been here with all of you.
We have a program here, Education and Social Justice minor. It started with 20 students, and under the amazing leadership of Dr. Velez, it's expanded in ways that we could never have imagined. And here to share some thoughts about that experience is one of the persons who's graduating with that minor, Andrea Tompkins. Andrea.
So my speech is a kind of different, it takes a different approach to kind of sharing my thoughts. So hello, good afternoon. First, before I begin, it is crucial for me to acknowledge that we are on Nooksack and Lummi land. We must continuously and consciously think about the legacy of colonialism upon land and land in general, but specifically also where we are in the present context. For those of you that I have not met yet, my name is Andrea, and I'm a graduating senior from Fairhaven College with a minor in Education and Social Justice, also known as ESJ. I have been invited to speak this evening, I believe, due to my dedicated involvement within the minor, but I'm not quite sure. What I have come to share with y'all is not only my own words, but is also from words from my community that I'm a part of here in Bellingham. And I would like to thank you all for inviting me to come into this space and speak to you all this evening. So today, congratulations is in order. To the families of the graduates, the professors who helped us get to this point, and most importantly, to the graduates. Congratulations on making it to this point in your journey. In the face of challenges that have tested our character and our values, we've been able to remember that our purpose at this institution, or what our purpose at this institution is. For some students, getting to this point has been hard. For some students, it has felt impossible, and for so many, it has actually truly been impossible.
It is amazing, miraculous even, that in the face of violence this past year, that students graduating this quarter have even made it to graduation. For some of us, this is a celebration of surviving on a campus we were never meant to be at, never meant to learn at, let alone graduate from. For students of color who have made it here today, in the face of a slow-moving, stifling, divisive, uncompassionate, and violent campus, you are owed so much more than a congratulations. Violence is not only a physical thing enacted by one person onto another, but is also a mental, emotional, and historical process. Violence is racialized, sexualized, and targeted towards historically oppressed and resistant peoples to maintain power and domination while ultimately upholding white supremacy. From an institution that centers itself around such things as justice and equity, it has extreme deficit in its engagement. I must honestly say that just because you are in a college that quote-unquote centers itself around justice, that this has not historically and realistically been true. Just because that you say you are against violence or are justice-centered does not mean that you're actually committed or dedicated to working towards justice, or that your work is centered around the communities most impacted by white supremacy and domination. This university has continued to perpetuate and enact violence onto students through complacency, shame, isolation, and intimidation. Justice or social justice is something that has become cute or sexy to talk about, but in the context of university is more oftentimes than not empty promises and expensive words. Especially on this campus, a campus that is centered on personal glorification, it has become increasingly clear that the institution is completely unwilling to commit or dedicate time and energy to justice work. As an ESJ student, I must be honest and say that most people talking about oppression, justice, and community work are actually saying it just to say it and sound good. As a student involved in multiple spaces on this campus, ESJ has been the one and only consistent space that has been created, led, and implemented to support students by students. Let me tell you, ESJ is not perfect, but ESJ has committed itself to doing the work that other academic hubs on this campus have refused to do. As a student in ESJ, there are a couple unique things that ESJ is doing to be accountable, supportive to students, and combat complacency, such as humanizing students and their experiences, providing students space to reclaim their own power, and to hold space for student mobilization. In the classroom, ESJ works as an actual space for everyone involved to challenge and engage in difficult conversations and to provide tools to challenge oppression, power, and complacency. ESJ has helped me understand the difference between schooling as a form of domination versus education for liberation. I now understand the consequences of complacency. Reflecting, it's actually very ironic that the work this institution is claiming, praising, and uplifting as justice work, community work, etc., is the work being done by students who continue to be dehumanized, shamed, and violated by the university for that work in the very same moment.
I'm so sorry. Did you hear that?
I mean, it's the real.
Keep going, please.
Okay. As I close, I would like to leave you with a couple questions. Faculty, do you remember when you were in grad school working yourself to the bone, putting in painfully late nights, and I'm sure at some point each and every one of you stayed for one reason, for the youth, for the future? Well, I'm here telling you that we are those youth, and that we are those youth that you stayed in school for. We are that future, and we may be imagining different futures for ourselves than what you thought. I think you need to honor that, and have to ask yourselves if you're honoring the futures we seek, or if you're only committed to certain futures with upward mobility. To the graduates in the room, we have endured an education with a goal of domination. How can we do better for our future students to educate and liberate? How do we ensure that we do not fail our students the way our teachers have failed us? What kind of educator do you want to be? Are you willing to accept that the vision is greater than what you have already created it to be? Are you teaching to a greater future if you have not accepted that your students know their futures better than you? Are you willing to accept that your students are brilliant? Please keep these questions in mind as you continue your journey in education. And then to ESJ, to my community, and to my family, I would just like to say thank you for helping me survive this journey this far, and I am grateful to each and every one of you. And I also want to thank you all for allowing me to speak here tonight, and thank you again, and have a good evening.
So, many of you know, there's been a lot of tension out on campus, and it's something that we have to get at. And I really appreciate in particular, Andrew, those questions, because I think they're really important questions, and they're going to ring in, I think, all of the ears of those people who are here, students and faculty and staff alike. And thank you for your courage to share your experiences and your perspectives. From the Human Services Program, Diane Timmy. Diane?
I didn't think I was next, so I was like not prepared. Okay. First, I want to give a shout out to my mom. She's not here, but I just want to thank her for her resiliency and her strength. And then I also want to thank Hope Corbin specifically. I've been here a little over 2 years, and I immediately got here and questioned why I was here, and I didn't know if this was the right place to be. And she really got me through, I guess, the Western atmosphere. And it's hard being a woman of color on Western, just a person of color in general. So I really appreciate it, and otherwise I don't know if I actually would have stayed here. So thank you. And also John too. My junior year was also really frustrating here. So thank you, both of you. So to begin, some of my best moments at Woodring have risen from hard conversations. Some of my worst moments at Woodring and Western have risen from the suppression of hard conversations. And because of this, I want to stress the importance of hard conversations and our duty to engage in them. Hard conversations are the ones that make us feel uncomfortable, that make others feel uncomfortable, that sometimes even start arguments and fights. Conversations related to the identities of race and ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, ability, socioeconomic status, and the way these intersect. All of these matter. As a Black woman, I move from sphere to sphere and experience to experience, and all the while navigating individuals denying these experiences and these realities. One of the worst things we can do is negate the experience of someone living a marginalized identity. But what's equally frustrating is when we don't let marginalized people speak, when we don't listen to each other, when we don't talk to each other, and when we don't consider our own privileges and how they contribute to larger systemic problems. I firmly believe in the importance of hard conversations, and maybe they can be divisive. They can also create connections, change, and revolutions. And so to end, I present a poem by Langston Hughes titled Song of the Revolution. Sing me a song of the revolution, marching like fire over the world, weaving from the earth its bright red banner for the hands of the masses to unfurl. Sing me a song of the revolution, drowning the past with a thunderous shout, filled with the strength of youth and laughter, and never the echo of doubt. O mighty roll of the revolution, ending the centuries of bloody strife, ending the tricks of kings and liars, big with the laughter of a new life. Breaking the bonds of the darker races, breaking the chains that have held for years, breaking the barriers, dividing the people, smashing the gods of terror and tears. Cutting, O flame of the revolution, fear from the world like a surgeon's knife, so that the children of all creation waken at last to the joy of life. Thank you.
Also from Human Services, Taylor Lawson. Taylor? No.
Wow, yeah, I can see how many people are here. Hi, everybody. All right. First and foremost, my respect for the colleagues and faculty that I've had the honor of working with during my time in the Human Services program is insurmountable. It is an admiration and genuine gratitude that would take me at least 2 more years to express to all of you. I am certain that I could not have gotten to where I am today without each and every one of you. I know it may sound cheesy, but believe me when I tell you that the community that I have had the privilege of engaging in is a culminating experience that I have been searching for since I began my academic journey.
Prior to being enrolled in the program, academia was nothing more than an individual pursuit for me. I viewed it as a process of assimilation, of mastery, one that defines success based on the completion of assigned tasks and reproduction of skills relevant to the identified field studied. It is because of the colleagues and faculty that have embarked on this journey with me that I have cultivated a deeper understanding and value of partnership. Over the course of the past 2 years, I have come to know that what I have accomplished up until this point has not been of my own doing, but has involved the painful and inspirational truths of our histories. I have learned about the suffrage and success of so many individuals and the groups that continue to contribute to my understanding of the structures that we interact with and are influenced by on a daily basis. These interconnections have brought about the recognition of just how detrimental my individualized perspective was to not only my learning, but also to the health and well-being of myself and those around me. It is through this recognition and the active promotion of collaboration henceforth that I have found hope, health, passion, and self-love. I have been humbled and determined by that of which I do not know, but strive to gain. I have celebrated and embraced the challenges and accomplishments that are co-created through collaboration, having had the opportunity to produce meaningful outcomes that I know I would not have been able to accomplish on my own. As I have moved away from the individualized perspectives that have inhibited my ability to explore significant and often complex discoveries through academia, I often find myself reflecting on the opposition that exists between individualism and true partnership. Individualism convinces us that our society is successful when personal interests, expertise, and privilege are valued more than community assets, collaboration, and equity. Individuality justifies the blame that many societal structures place on the individual for their experiences and their circumstances. It strips many of their humanity while diminishing the value of, and often completely disregarding, context and culture. Collaboration, when authentic, inclusive, and appropriate, challenges and deconstructs systems that reproduce and maintain those circumstances. It is through collaboration that we begin to shift our perspectives towards authentic partnerships that aim to create sustainable changes which value and support the health and well-being of all persons through inclusion and empowerment. The partnerships that I've created in the program have taught me the importance of equity and equal participation, as well as the potential that we have to create meaningful and necessary social changes. True partnership has held me accountable for myself and the privileges that I hold, and working with others has shed light on the remarkable passions and commitments of those around me, and has empowered me to do the same. Collaborating has enriched my understanding of systems and social issues by establishing much deeper connections, by providing space to share diverse perspectives, and by integrating personal and collective experiences, all of which no textbook or individual assignment could have gifted to me. It has instilled a level of hope that has not only been nurtured, but continues to grow because of it. I look to my colleagues and know that we are standing together today and tomorrow to celebrate all of our accomplishments, as well as the work that lies ahead, to acknowledge the partnerships, the collective contributions, the invaluable collaborations, and the diverse leaders within us all. I am proud of who I am and who I am continually becoming, of who we are, and what I know we will continue to accomplish together, because of each and every one of you. Thank you.
Representing our elementary education program, Lina Velasquez.
Thank you. I'd like to keep this nice and short and sweet, just like I always am. And thank you so much for all of you making it up here, no matter how far you traveled. In this room of highly qualified and capable graduates, I would first like to start off by congratulating the class of 2016. We have arrived. After completing at least 190 college credit hours, over 850 hours plus teaching experiences, and one submission of the EdTPA, we have reached the final moments of our grueling yet gratifying endeavors here at Western Washington University. I know I am not alone when I say that I am thankful to have gone through this experience together with all of you. The teaching community is one of the many reasons why I want to be a teacher. Aside from the diverse range of talent, creativity, and character in this room, I have never met a more supportive group of individuals with so much positive energy, most of which I assume comes from the gallons of coffee we consume each week. All joking aside, I am honored to call you my colleagues, my mentors, and most importantly, my friends. In preparing for this speech, I spent time studying great public speakers such as President Obama and Ellen DeGeneres, but I realized that their expertise would not be able to help me. I knew that the support that I would need would come from this teaching community. So I started collecting stories from fellow interns of their favorite moments of their time as student teachers. In our talks, we recalled times of communal stress and anxiety, and there were stories of nights where we ate nothing but chocolate and other comfort food. There are also stories, though, that showed true instances of both mental and emotional growth, like the moment when a shy and distant child opened themselves up to give a hug, providing an intern peace of mind knowing they had successfully built a relationship. There was another moment where a student with the character of a boisterous lion used strategies to stay calm when he became upset. He later shared with his teacher that it felt good to make the right choice. I also came across stories that were pretty hilarious, like when a student went the extra mile to challenge his scientific mind and ate a raw oyster in Ocean's class. It's moments like these when we learn to take pride in our achievements no matter how big or small. We teach to be positive role models, to help students discover their passions. We teach to meet the learning needs of everyone, regardless of their race, their culture, or their challenges. We leave here today thanks to our professors, faculty, and other staff here at Woodring with the knowledge and skills we need to continue our journey as lifelong learners. It is now up to us to show the world the importance of educators. When asked what I do for a living, my response is simple. I teach. What's your superpower? Thank you.
There's a person not on the list that we're going to invite up to give a talk. Every year, every college is asked to identify one individual who really represents the service, the diversity, and the scholarly work that really is embedded in or is part and parcel of the university. And this year's winner of that, or a person who was given that award, is Megan Daly. And so we've asked Megan to come on up and say a few words. So Megan, representing the College of Education of the Presidential
So I brought my phone because that's what I'm writing. I'm not on Snapchat. Today, I'd like to tell you a story about a student of mine, and his name is Hasiel. And my family knows him really well because I'm always telling Hasiel stories. They're my favorite stories to tell. And so when Dean Rio said I'd have the opportunity to speak, I snatched up the opportunity to tell another Hasiel story. So Hasiel is a 4th grader at Lincoln School in the Mount Vernon School District. And before I met Hasiel, I felt like I knew him because of all the Hasiel stories his previous teachers had. His 1st grade teacher told me a story about one time when he broke her nose while she was helping him solve a math problem. I was kind of scared to have him in my class. His 2nd grade teacher told me about how he had zero self-control, and that comment was a little off-putting to me. But then his 3rd grade teacher told me about his non-stop chatter, and I got a little bit worried because none of the things people were telling me about Hasiel were about his strengths. And that was really important to me, to be knowing that I was going to be his teacher. I needed to know what he was good at. I needed to know his strengths. So it was my mission when I met Hasiel to figure out what all those strengths were. And when I met him, I learned that he knew about his reputation. He knew what his 2nd and 3rd grade teachers were telling about him. And at 9 years old, school was already a place that he didn't think he would be successful. So then I realized it wasn't important just for me to know what he was good at, what his strengths were, but for him to know that too. So the school year started and I started getting to know him. And it was so easy to find his strengths. He's such a great kid. And his second grade teacher was right. He has a lot of energy. So he was my go-to helper. If we needed to send a note to the office, Hossio was on it. He runs the fastest mile at his school. And he is constantly in the back of the room while I'm teaching, like doing this. But I love it because it puts a smile on my face in the middle of the lesson. And he's in the back, so he's not distracting others either. So it's great. And then his third grade teacher was right too about him talking a lot. He tells excellent oral stories. I found that was hard to get him to write sometimes. So he would stand there walking in circles telling me his stories, and I would write them down for him. And then at the end, when he was finished telling the story, he would read it back to me. And he started realizing what a great writer he really was. He just needed a different path to get there. And then I started discovering my own wonderful things about Hossiel, like his engagement when it comes to space science. I got to teach a space science unit, and every day Hossiel at snack time had videos to share with the class about space. He was the most engaged student during that time. I learned so many wonderful things about him, and I started sharing all those wonderful things with him, and he actually started to believe it too. So, with that in mind, my hope for all of you is that you have a Hossiel in your class, someone that makes you want to go to work every single day just to see him, just to see the smile on his face, or the great crazy idea he just came up with. And I also challenge you that when a student enters your class and he has a reputation or you hear a lot of negative things about them, your first job is to change your perspective, see him through a different lens or her, and understand that every single student we have has strengths, and those are the things that we need to draw on. Thank you.
Well, I want to take a moment to thank all of our student speakers. Great stories about community, about looking for people's assets, about thinking really critically and be willing to name that, about vision and hopes and dreams for the future. So please join me in thanking all of our student speakers. And all the parents and family and caregivers here, would you raise your hand? Let's give them applause for being here. And then to the amazing Woodring faculty and staff, will you stand up so we can give you an applause? And thank you. And give a particular shout out to Miranda and Corianne and Emily again for their work and setting us up. Thank you very much. The catering for making sure that we had food, but it looks like you enjoyed it really well. None left, so that's really great. In closing, I'd like to just share with you one of my favorite quotes that comes from a book called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, though it was oftentimes misattributed to Nelson Mandela in his inauguration address in 1994. But Marianne said this, quote, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are more powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant or gorgeous and talented or fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of the world. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of the Lord, and that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Family, friends, but most importantly, graduates, go out and light up the world. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon, and let's have a great tomorrow.